make sure that they don't get in my...
Welcome to day 10 of the Bike for Tigers, or virtual Bike for Tigers challenge across India. Really, Madhya Pradesh is where we are at the moment, but it's day 10. And I'm virtually biking because I've got my bike here and you can just about see me, and I can actually pedal here in my office. But it's really, the aim is to show India, to broadcast the wonderful wildlife and nature of India amongst many of the chums and friends and colleagues that I've met over the 20 years that I've run my organization called Tough Tigers in the wilds of India. So welcome. Stay with us for the next 40 minutes while we go through the wilds of Satpura Tiger Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. But really, I started the challenge a little while back now, in 2016, as a proper bike, and we biked and we raised funds for tiger conservation across whole parts of Madhya Pradesh, in Kana and Pench, and that was a really exciting time. Wonderful biking that one can get in those parts, and we raised substantial money. So today, if you're happy and you've got a bit of money still with all this pandemic, and you're happy to give it to our tiger conservation efforts, we would be very, very happy with that. And so our links are on the web, on our Facebook there. You can donate very easily, so please feel free to do that. And money will go back to many of the destinations we visit and the problems that they will face in the forthcoming few months. Well, tourism is down, all the activity, all the economics that are normally associated with keeping those wildlife in those areas are all in a very bad way. And India, of course, is suffering just like the rest of the world in that way. So please, we'd be delighted to have that money. And I'll remind you at the end of the program about this. This really is a daily, weekly travelogue that I'm doing, and we've been going through many parts of Madhya Pradesh, which is in the center of India. And just to prove that I've sort of have biked, there's a quick picture, but actually what I'm doing now is actually putting on the shirt, but actually pedaling in my office. And that's exactly where I'm broadcasting from right this second. So let's talk a little bit about where we are. We're bang in the center of India, a place called Madhya Pradesh. I'm just going to move around so you can see the state name, which is the very center of India. And let's get you a little bit closer to where we are today. Now, today we are, and I gotta go at the opposite. There you go. We are right here in sort of center of the state of Madhya Pradesh, a place called Satpura Tiger Reserve. We actually started off down here in Pench, day one, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we've traveled on our travels all the way to right up to the top there, right up there to Pana, and now we've come all the way back down to our area here in Satpura. So 5 of the most beautiful reserves in India, places you can come and enjoy and travel to, get some real experience of all the fantastic biodiversity that India has to offer. As good, if not better, than much of Africa, of course, in terms of species and stuff. And of course, it's also got the fabled tiger, which everyone wants to come and have a look at. So I'm just going to introduce Satpura to you now. It's a very beautiful tiger reserve with famous hills in the background, the Mahadev Hills. They were famous in the olden days, and when it was Central Indian Province in the 19th century. And many of the administration of Central India, which was run by the Britishers at the time, would use these hills during the really hot monsoon periods. And we'll be getting up into those hills as we go forward in the coming few minutes. So it's an exceptional place to be. Now, I happen to have been to Satpura lots of times, even before it was really open or even known to the outside public. And I was happening to be here 2005, and this time 2009, when we were looking specifically for a conservancy, a kind of community-based conservancy proposal that we were working on at the time that I was working on specifically. And we came and we looked at many places on the borders of the Satpura Tiger Reserve at that time. Now I would like to introduce you to my two guests that are about to come on. One you can already see on there, Anand. But I'm going to just, before I introduce him, I'm just going to ask Ali Rashid to join me. Hit that button, come and join us. There's a very good naturalist picture of him, studying the far horizon for any wildlife that he can see. So hi, Ali, lovely to have you on.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Up, Casey.
Hi, Ali.
Hi, Anna.
And I, wonderful naturalist. I've had the pleasure of going out with Ali a number of times. We've done night drives. We've done some other drives into the hills. And he's also an eco lodge operator. Very, very good quality lodge operator he operates. So we'll talk about that as we go through it. And of course, his lodge is called Renipani. Very, very comfortable, very beautifully situated, etc. in the wilds of just outside the Satpura Reserve. And then also he's just started a new one called the Bori Lodge. Is it Bori, if I'm correct? Bori Lodge.
Bori Lodge.
Bori
Safari Lodge.
Safari Lodge. Excellent. And I'm very excited today because the reality is that we're going to be talking about a place that no one's really heard of. And I know you've launched it, but Bori, for me, I've known about for 15 years, and we're going to get excited about Bori as we do our game drive. So let me just introduce my next guest, which is Anand Eriksson. Anand.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, everyone.
Good to have you with us. Now, Anand's an old chum that I met 10 years ago. He's now fled Satpura to the hills of Uttarakhand. But he's very much a passionate wildlife nature lover. And we met at Forsyth, didn't we, all those years ago?
Yeah, Forsyth.
And I happened to be his first, I like to claim I happened to be his first ever guest. And I was in the staff quarters of your new lodge.
Yeah.
And
now it's all fully fledged, done up and all. Earlier, when you came, there was only one small quarters there. Yeah. Where we all used to stay and, eat and whatever, operate from there only.
But we still had fun because I love just sitting around a campfire. It doesn't matter about the accommodation and just having a laugh. Yeah. To me, being in the wild is not about the lodges. It's about the people and the place and the noise and the smell and all that.
It's the outdoors, that matters.
It's the outdoors, exactly. So a lot of fun. It was lovely to see you. And of course, at that time, Hashim Chabji, who was setting it up, was doing some fantastic stuff with Satpura and really trying to set Satpura up as a separate model for nature tourism, which has transpired to be the case.
We are setting up a public-private partnership, with the This is still a little later shot of this was all badly grazed and completely put down. It was just a barren field. But with a lot of protection, hours and hours of chasing away the cattle, and we built a living fence, which actually means animals can go in and out, wildlife, but the cows stay away. So we had around 55 acres roughly of beautiful land. Now it's a lovely place, you have resident wild boar, a lot of spotted deer in it, a lot of small game, amazing sanctuary.
You've got your own little now. But it's just like yours, Ali, the same thing. You've created a little...
Yes, like Renipani, Januma,
Yeah, actually, also we get both the lodges. There's a lot of wildlife, a lot of forest, leopards coming in, herbivores. It's very interesting to be there, actually.
Well, it's
Anant, we spent quite a lot of time when Anant was there, almost about 8 or 10 years ago. So we had a couple of years together in Satpura, quite memorable. And
it was fantastic. Yeah, those times were really nice. It was just 2 lodges. And we had a great time, man. Adventurous time there.
I'm very delighted to see that building still standing. Considering you made it, it's still standing.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. It is a heavy maintenance thing. This is made out of rammed earth, actually.
Yeah, of course.
It's one of its kind. And it was a very heavy maintenance lodge, Forsyth Lodge, you know. When I took over, it was like, you know, it was completely full of water, and you know, it was not in a good shape.
Yeah.
And half of it is not constructed even.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. No, it's just the sort of thing Hashim would dump you with. I can see him.
Yeah, he was very good at putting me in the deep end. I joined as a naturalist, and I was supposed to be heading the training and with the guides, local guides, hiring them and all of that, and landed up managing the lodge.
So no, it's exactly right. But here's a picture of you doing some training, and we came together a few years back now when we sent a load of park guides from across Madhya Pradesh to join you, and you happened to get involved and be doing this, and here you are giving them. And let me tell you, it made a major difference to not only these guys who learned a lot from you, but to the way nature was being talked about and communicated in the parks to the visitors. And so a huge thanks to you for helping out on that, because
thank you very much.
That relationship.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, it was good.
Likewise, I also learned a lot.
Yeah.
These people are actually from tiger-centric parks, and they're used to sitting behind the jeep and going around, you know, bouncing around. Satpura is not like that. So it was a model for other parks to learn that we can, you know, have wildlife tourism without sitting in the back of the jeep and leaving a huge carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So we were pretty much successful in that, and now Forsyth and Renipani are great examples of.
Yeah, of course. Now, just what you just said, we're not going to get in the back of a truck. So I'm sorry about the carbon footprint here. But the wonderful thing about the carbon footprint here is there isn't any carbon footprint, okay? We're just doing it from our homes, okay? But we're going to try and give you what there would be.
This is an e-truck. E-truck.
A virtual safari, yeah.
Yeah, the kind of virtual safari. Now, you guys laugh
with a bike on it.
You're on a bike. Ali, get a bike out. Yeah, we'll go double side. Yeah, double line.
Again, biking. Okay, I'll keep the electricity on, guys. If I bike hard enough, the electricity will keep the car going.
Yeah.
You have a problem in Satpura because you've got to cross a bit of water to start with. So I'm gonna now get in the boat with Ali, as I've been in the boat with Ali.
Yeah.
And cross the Tawar Reservoir, which really is the most fantastic sort of protection for the park, isn't it? As part of that.
Yeah, I mean it's really unique because the full northern side of the park is covered by water, the Denwa River, and one of the interesting things is this canoeing, which the forest department and the lodges here work together. These canoe guides were actually fishermen before who were netting the river, and now they've become canoe guides. So that's like a win-win situation also, where they're showing rare birds like Indian skimmers and other water birds that come to us in the winter also. And guests get to experience. Plus the guides itself live in their environment, knowing what they do best. So that's something very unique about Satpura, the canoe activity.
Yeah, I mean the thing about the river, the dam, which it effectively is, and it's the dam of the Denwa and the
Sonbhadra.
Sonbhadra and then Dewa and then the Tava River downstream. Yeah.
And so it does go up and down a lot. So you can think you're about to look at a dam, and you come there in October and it's full and it's a beautiful dam, and then you come there in about April and you can walk across it because all the water's gone.
Yeah.
Last year we were actually walking across, they had put two jetties together and we were just walking. Yeah.
I heard about that, yeah.
In peak summer.
That's unbelievable.
All the water gone. All the water gone.
When I was there, it rained quite a lot that year.
What's the weather? What's the dam? What is the dam like now? What is the reservoir? Is it quite topped up now?
Right now, because just on the 18th they opened Satpura post this COVID lockdown. So that time there was a short crossing because it's still, it's pretty much dry season still. The rains haven't yet come. But this year you still need a boat to cross. You can't walk across.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the wonderful thing about Satpura, and we'll talk about, is that you've got canoeing, you've got walking safaris, you've got night game drives, you've got all these different varieties. The sort of thing I've been campaigning should be happening in all the tiger reserves across India. But Satpura is just perfect, the range of these different things. So it is a very special place, and this is the sort of view you might get from your canoe of a lovely mugger crocodile lying on the banks of one of the inlet. It scares the hell out of a lot of your canoeists. I know you were saying something about that, weren't you, Anand? I think how people were scared.
We used to do a lot of recce's, in 2009, we were pushing and we were, trying to sell this canoeing thing and, starting off kayaking and canoeing in the park. And we used to take the park management for these recce's before we could take the guests and they would give us permission. And sometimes it used to get dusk. While coming back, it used to get dark as well. But these muggers, these crocodiles, some of them are like 14-footers, okay, and they're pretty used to people. They sometimes come up, upstream from the Tawa, and they hang around in the Sonbhadra till the water really goes down, and they're not scared of people. So you would go in the canoe, and and then Hashim decided to get inflatable kayaks. So that was not pretty convincing, and we'd go close to the mugger and go, and under the canoe and all of that. So the end of the day or the night, by the time we'd come back, they'd say, this is too dangerous. We can't do this. You have to change these inflatable kayaks. And I don't like these are 6 chambers. And
I don't blame him. I'm not a big fan of inflatable kayaks either. I like the hard deck, if you don't mind. Also.
Yeah, you asked me. I was like, there, showing on macho and trying to show the rocks to the.
So, and of course there are lots of water birds there. We've got some bar-headed geese there, which are just, you see them in big flocks, don't you, on the side?
Lovely. Barrets are always around. They're always around. Barrets are always around, and they stay very late till April sometimes there in Satpura. There's a lot of feeding ground for them. When the water goes down, there's a lot of grass. Yeah, they feed on a special chilli. It's like a membranous grass. They love it, and they are always around there. There's a lot of traffic over the water. Beautiful.
And I always love these fellows because basically they fly over the Himalayas. They're the highest flying birds. 34,000 feet I think have been recorded.
One of the highest migrating birds. They fly over Everest. And then
Everest, much higher than Everest. Yeah, a lot higher. And they've got, if I'm correct, they've got some kind of mechanism in their ears that can stop the pressure. Or I remember reading about it. I can't quite remember the story. But it's
a highly evolved respiratory system also, which can absorb a lot of more oxygen than other animals and birds. Yeah.
Amazing. To take those flights, long flights.
And then when you're in the creeks, and then when you're in the creeks, you see these lovely sort of pied kingfishers and that sort of stuff. So we've now got to Marai, which is where you get off and where you kind of get on your vehicle. So we'll take you to, and we're going to get you out of that bloody canoe, which you nearly stuck with all your clients on, and we're going to put you into the and you're going to put me, I should say, in the back of one of your jeeps. Okay, I don't know who's the better driver here.
We both will try a hand half and half.
Okay, so I do know that Anand likes his Willie.
We can take turns,
yeah, Anand has.
That has no brakes.
Okay, I'll stick with you. Okay, I'll stick with you then, Ali, if you don't mind. I'll get in the back of your jeep. So we're now heading off into Satpura. And of course, when you guys started marketing Satpura really didn't have, the big mega attraction anywhere. And so the wonderful thing, I remember Hashim saying we're going to make sure we don't sell tiger tourism. We don't want all that stuff rushing around. We want the best form, and we want to just have it as a wildlife zone rather than a tiger park. And of course, one of your big ones was this fellow,
the sloth bear. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was a great way to promote the park also, because all the other parks like Kana, Bandhavgarh, Paints, they are mostly promoting tigers. And in one way, this also as a tourism pitch also fit in very well, because people would go see the tiger and then come here and enjoy the raw experience of walking, canoeing, game drives, seeing sloth bear, which was not so visible in most of the other parks, and just having something without the crowds, and just enjoying the wilderness experience rather than just chasing. So almost the whole tourism experience would slow down over here after that rush of trying to see the tigers.
Yeah, of course, and I love that. It's absolutely my sort of place. So when I kind of got that, I kind of knew this was my kind of park. A slow down rather than round the circle. So I'm a big fan. The one thing I've never seen, and I've been going to parks 20 years, is this picture behind me, which is
cubs on the back.
That is.
You should come to Satpura
often,
because each year their breeding time is quite defined, and usually they bring out their cubs in late January, early February, and you would see them on the back till the summer months. So,
so what sort of age are those cubs on the back of Monday?
This picture was taken in somewhere around May, so they're about 5 months old, four and a half months old. Yeah,
and she will carry them till what sort of age? 6 months or
about 6 months of age. So usually when the park closes down for the monsoon, and when you see them again in October, they are walking. They're not on the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we then move on to the Satpura Gorge, which is a lovely place. You guys often stop for tea, or we get out the vehicle and have a wander around here.
Beautiful place,
yeah. And it's got lots of puddles, lots of lovely, rock faces and things. Really, really fantastic place.
Yeah. So you were talking about the Sonbhadra River. This is the Sonbhadra River that you see in the background coming through the valley, and then joining up with the Devwal.
Kind of originating point, right, Ali? Almost.
Yeah,
it originates sort of in the tourism zone. It's visible here.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then, because you can either have it there, or you can drive a bit higher up. You were saying a little bit further on.
Chutki Dev, I guess.
This is Chutki Dev.
Yeah.
Great view of the whole park from.
Yeah.
And that's such a lovely, because you so seldom have the chance. I mean, there are a few parks where you can get a really good view of a whole park. There would be up at the fort in Ranthambore. There'd be the Bandhavgarh Hill Fort, where you can get a sort of fantastic view. And here's a classic, another example where you can see it for miles. So I get excited about these. It's a sort of, in Africa, you often get parks you can see right to the edge of the horizon. In India, less so because of size, because of size base. But here you can get that lovely view across there. Okay.
It's a great spot to climb up to. Very good spot.
And they allow you to have breakfast here also. So, just a nice cup of coffee overlooking the whole park like this. It's an amazing experience for a guest.
And of course, you do it very well. You make sure that no papers left behind and nothing else is done.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And that's given.
Brilliant. So we'll come down off there. We've had our cup of coffee, guys. And we're now driving. We now continue. We're now heading towards Chorna. If I'm correct, this is on the way to Chorna, am I right?
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's somewhere a little out of the way, but
we're not out of bounds yet, are we?
If there's alarm calls, we can check out one spot and then and then go to Chorna.
It's like touching the slight periphery and coming in.
Yeah.
So as long as we're not doing something illegal here, it's okay.
I think
nothing illegal in a little while now. Okay.
No, this is zone.
And so, typically, tell us a little bit about this. Is a picture of a tiger in Chorna, and this was the one that was released. I can't remember, Ali. You were here, and of course, you weren't here at the time, and you'd kind of left by then, hadn't you? By the time they reintroduced tigers back in.
Yeah. So. Actually, Chorna, there was a village there before, as you know, you visited there also. And they moved the village, and slowly then they started relocating or translocating tigers from different parts. And now they've made an enclosure there as well, where they are actually Actually, over the last few years, there's been at least 6 to 8 tigers that have been translocated, and some have been quite successfully, moved here. So that is a good story. This particular individual actually is a tiger from Satpura itself, not from any other park.
Yeah, that's interesting. And of course, this one, if I'm correct, is different. This is a matriarch, correct? One of the.
Yeah, this one, I don't know, Anand, maybe you would have also seen her. This was the dominant female of the area.
Yeah, she was the tiger that we used to see, mostly in Madai area.
Madai area. Yeah, and she gave quite a few consecutive cubs, and over the years we've seen her like grow with the park, and she's still around.
She's still around.
I saw her on a bison kill near the elephant camp.
Once there was there were 3 cubs and an elephant. At that time they used to have elephant shows also, and there was a showing on the elephant back with the 3 cubs. Maybe you might remember, near the elephant camp itself. I don't know if you were still there.
No, not that one. Yeah. She was alone with her.
Okay. Yeah.
But this was the tiger. She used to come into the Madai meadow and get out by morning. So all this Madai part, which is like around 50-60 square kilometers, used to be just tigers hunting area mostly.
And of course, that area is where you can do a lot of walking, walking safaris on a day-by-day basis, and you walk around these grasslands and into the woods.
Yeah.
And this is another tigress. I think you have with some cubs here. This is the Chona tigress.
This particular tigress, as I was mentioning, they've been translocating in the last 5 years, and she was translocated from Bandhavgarh. She was orphaned over there, and then she was moved here, and she's kind of very successfully settled. And this is a 3rd litter actually, and she's raised 2 litters also. So she's almost she's the matriarch of that area now, and one of the important tigers.
If I'm correct, she's also an orphan. She was orphaned in Bandhavgarh when she was a small cub.
Yeah, she was orphaned, and then they brought her up in an enclosure. Then they released her here, and then they kind of rewilded her by releasing prey in the enclosure. And then she learned how to hunt. And then at that time, as we were discussing earlier, that there used to be some cattle near the Churna area because the villages had moved out, and there were quite a few cattle around. So this tigress had easy prey in the beginning when she just got released.
McDonald's.
Easily hunting the,
yeah.
And that's how that helped her settle down in the area better.
But the funny thing is, of course, I was there in the Chona guest house, which is here, and you guys probably remember that well or go often here. And it's a really fun place. When I was there 10 years ago, the village was still there, and the grasslands were still overrun with cattle and bits. But those cattle are quite feral. I mean, you don't want to be on foot with some of those cattle. It's not like humans anymore. Right?
Correct. I think until you were there also, maybe you would have gone to Churna and seen quite a lot of cattle. The village was also still there.
Yeah, especially in Dhai. Dhai used to be full of cattle.
Correct.
And on the way to Churna. And Churna, of course, the village was still there. And there were talks about, relocation and all of that. We used to go there a lot. We used to do day trips there a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to bump into tigers every now and then. And the rocks, those rocks up there.
The rocks. Yeah.
Lovely rock paintings and walking up there. It was untamed country. Really nice.
A lot of fun. And of course, the thing that the first time I saw the biggest squirrel in the world was here, the giant Malabar squirrel, a rather gorgeous creature, most fantastic. I think he grows, 3 feet or something? He's a big fellow, isn't he?
Yeah, almost 3 feet from tip of nose to the tip of. Yeah. And you in fact have a flying squirrel also here at Churna camp. So if you stay the night over there and you spend the night and just use your torch at night, you'll probably see a flying squirrel coming out.
Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah.
Churna has some really big trees, very old trees. It's a very old part of the park, never been, timbered and
correct.
Very, very old.
The interesting thing about this place is this looks fairly modern, and we'll take you back to some more sort of Raj, earlier Bates ones where we have lovely forest areas. So that's that, and then you also get lovely, the hawk eagle, the crested hawk eagle. I mean, what a fantastic picture, real special. That you get in this you'd see in lots of central India, but I haven't seen it all that much. Is it relatively rare? The crested hawk eagle. I've seen the crested serpent eagle, of course, everywhere.
Quite a common bird actually to deciduous forest.
Okay.
Not very rare. The range is pretty wide, from the foothills of the Himalayas, even Nepal, to even down south. It's a very good hunter. It's like you can call it the tiger of the canopy. It's a very good hunter. You see it chasing jungle fowl and peafowl chicks through the canopy like a fighter jet. Fantastic bird to watch.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so I'm now going to get off my bicycle just to prove I have a bicycle.
Oh, yeah. Please.
Who's going to complain about that? So, Ali, you tell me you took this picture, didn't you? And it's famous. I mean, Satpura is very famous for its leopards.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, some of the leopards have become quite habituated in Satpura. This particular leopard, these were two siblings actually we used to follow quite a lot, maybe in 2015 or 16, and they became quite bold. So these were sub-adults which were dispersing from their mother, and they used to kind of form a coalition. The mother is not seen in this image, but both used to come together, hunt, and then move apart, and then come together. And they gave us a lot of views, a lot of behavior. They used to sort of fight with groups of wild boar. I've even seen this one stalking a gaur, and his brother, we saw him killing a gaur also. So fantastic behavior they showed us. Gaur, not a full-grown gaur, but fantastic behavior which you usually wouldn't see in leopards, especially in India. They're quite shy.
Especially in the Madai area, they behave like tigers there. Because of the vacuum of tigers, they're the top predator. They go for big prey there. Sambar and all.
Yeah.
Like Hana, when tigers went, the leopards moved in and vice versa.
No, like Anant is saying that leopards kill big sambar stags also in Satpura.
In Satpura only. You won't see that anywhere else,
Yeah.
In Satpura, and they were always pretty much habituated. Even before our lodges came in, I went in 2006 when I was there with Mike for a month. That time also there was, always a leopard or two or a female with cubs, very much habituated, and so it's probably the weekenders from Bhopal and Hoshangabad that were keeping them probably, during the weekends.
Correct.
I mean, in those days, when I first went there, 2004 or 5 or whatever, when you had 6 people at a weekend or something like that, that was all the people that went into the whole park.
Yes.
1,500 square kilometer park. That was the sort of numbers, tiny numbers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's nobody there.
Still not that much. Still not.
Not very
you
small.
would go in 2 bangy old jeeps, gypsies, and you would go in and you don't know when you will come back or not. You had in the same jeeps. Noisy things, and they would take you up Chutki Dev and all of that.
Even just a nice. I remember when we were starting tourism there. Sometimes they never send the boat across to pick us up. Also, I remember. And myself fighting with the deputy ranger.
But you had to swim across, didn't you?
Yeah, I once had to swim across one of those nalas between Forsyth and Sarangpur. There is a big rivulet, and the backwater comes in and makes it's quite a wide, like around length of a swimming pool. Yeah, and I had to cross that in front of the guests to get the boat because Suklal the boatkeeper, decided to just sleep. And I was like, excuse me, I just have to,
Guess who the guest was? The guest was my stepbrother.
Yeah, Mr. Stagg.
Yeah,
Charlie and all,
Charlie and all that.
Those were the days, we had really good fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And it's always lovely being part of a start of a new park, putting it on the map and getting it. I mean, that's a great adventure, that story. We're now going to drive. So we've now drive from China. We haven't really gone over hills per se, but in fact, it looks like we have. When we come into Bori, And I'm excited by Bori because this is a new area, and Ali's really going to be the main man who's going to some extent, put this place on the map. And it's Bori Sanctuary, which is, and I'm getting confused now. Is it the southern side of Satpura or the northern? I'm just
southern. The Marai side
southern
is the northern
side.
This is the southern
okay.
side.
And so this is a whole new 500 square kilometers of wilderness that just hasn't been entered. And we laugh about India and say, you know, that we go to 5 or 6 tiger reserves. It's got 52 tiger reserves.
Yeah.
We still haven't even explored half of the ones we even know. So we've got a lot of exploration still to go. So I'm excited about this. Tell me a little bit about, we're going to talk a little bit about Bori, and we're going to talk a little bit about why it became famous and why it is in fact the first ever reserve in the world, not in India, in the world. We're going to have an argument about that, but it's an interesting story. So you get it's got lots of lovely, where lots of the villages used to, lots of lovely grasslands and stuff at the moment. So tell us a little bit about Bori and its wildlife.
So actually, Bori, as you mentioned, is a big park, and it's a continuous stretch of forest as part of the same tiger reserve. And till recently, like Anant and you had been Churna, all these areas had a lot of villages. The Bori area itself had villages. All of them have now been moved out. So there's only one village left in the whole park. So because of that, there's a lot of grasslands which have emerged, which are perfect places for, herbivores to repopulate. And as you can see, this is the Churna area.
Especially the spotted deer.
Especially the spotted deer repopulation. And because of that, carnivores are growing there also. The bulk of the tigers also in Satpura Tiger Reserve are actually in Bori and not in Pachmari and the Satpura National Park area.
It's really exciting. And when I saw that long time ago, and I happened to be there sort of 10 years ago, and we'll just talk a little bit about the story of Bori, because it was declared a national reserve. I think it was a national rather than a state reserve in 1867. It was thanks to an amazing man who you can buy the book of still, and it's really your Bible, isn't it, guys? I think to some extent. Of course, it's The Highlands of Central India by Captain James Forsyth. He was an amazing forester, sort of British, who came out and was an extraordinary naturalist and things and did a fantastic. But he was so upset by what was happening in central India at that time that he decided that he had to set aside a bit of land which would be reserved for these beautiful teak. Bori teak was famous at that time. Big girth, massive trees, and they were just chopping them down across India for the railways of the time that would power our colonial empire. So it's a lovely story. In fact, it's so under-recognized, to my mind. It drives me nuts. I was in Yellowstone 2 or 3 years ago, and I saw Yellowstone, first ever national park, 1872. Rubbish, I said to my guide. I know one that's older than that. He said, where? I said, in India. He said, no. I then showed him the what's name. I said, 1867. No. So I'm doing your job, guys.
Yeah.
But and it was because of these famous cities. But funny enough, I've never seen a really massive Bori teak in Bori. So I was asking you that question. I'd love to see if those ones are still there, 500-600-year-old teak plants. You see a lot of regenerated ones, but never the really big ones. So that's a really interesting story. And of course, I then turned up at Bori villages, where this Bori area comes from, and it's just the base of the Panchmari plateau, which is above it. You can see it up there, and I had a rather ignominious time here, and I don't know if you guys have, and I can't get rid of the evidence, but I played a game of cricket against Bori villagers, and they bowled me totally and utterly clean, and there's no way I can get rid of that evidence.
That's the middle stump down.
It's the middle stump. There's no getting away from that one.
Was that
so happy.
Was that a golden duck?
Well, it probably was a golden duck. It probably was a golden duck. It looks quite a nice shot. Come on, I mean, it's got all the right bits.
Yeah, unless the camouflage wickets, you don't see the camouflage. I always had a tough time, you know.
Yeah, if you don't see the ball, if the image is cropped a bit, I would imagine that you would hit a 6.
Yeah.
I was probably going for a 6, my guess. I was probably going for a 6. Anyway, Bori itself also has the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful guest houses. These are the forest rest houses built probably in the turn of the last century to put the forest officers in and look after them. And they were all over India, and they're very beautiful. It's such a shame that they're not using these for visitors and stuff in many ways, because they're used very seldom, I think, by present forest officers. Is that you guys stayed there?
Yeah, it's not used. It's not used. It's not. You're not allowed to stay there unless you're a VIP or a forest officer. With some very important post. But we managed in 2009, Julian, if you remember, we drove down from Panchmari. We managed to stay there one night, and we took a special permission. It's a beautiful spot. You open the doors and you have the Satpura range in front of you. Fantastic.
It's amazing. And of course, from there you can then drive up the Panchmari plateau, and you can
One thing that is interesting in Bori now is the reintroduction of the Barasingha. They've made an enclosure over there, and they have the Barasingha there, captive population.
The Kana model.
Slowly releasing to other parts of the park.
And the Barasingha has been very successfully restored in Kana. I just hope it'll be just as good, because the Indian Forest Service is getting very, very good at restoration and restoring. What's the names? They're
rehabilitation.
They're getting really good at it. Yeah. So
a lot of science is going into it now. Very good to see that. Bori has a lot of bamboo as well. Ali, there's a lot of nice patches of big bamboo forests. Bamboo plantation. Old, they've never been touched. Very, very thick place. When you come down from Panchmari and enter the plains of Chulna, then you see those.
Yeah, sure. I recall.
Come across
now we're gonna slightly now take you. We're gonna go up to Panchmari, which is a interesting story in itself. But of course, we're gonna walk this time, which is an exciting way to do it, and you can do it in a way. And I think we're gonna walk up. In fact, usually you walk down, if I'm correct, with your walking safaris, your 2 or 3 day walking safaris. And I can't imagine why you do that. I mean, it's much more fun walking up than down.
I mean, it's a little easier, I think, to walk down for most of the guests.
I didn't think you were going to say that. Is that something to do with the age, maybe, or what? No, you're right. It would be quite serious, because it is quite a serious. So here we go. Oops, no, I forget. That's actually not walking. That's actually cycling. And I like this. I said to Ali, I know you do cycling. Can you send me a cycling photo? This is the picture he sends me. The guys holding their bloody bicycles crossing a river. I don't know if that's good advertising or not.
This was actually part of a recce. I took this image of these guys. Actually, they are people who actually run cycling tours. So we went all the way to Panchmari, and then there's a place called Neemghan. I don't know if you've been there. So we cycled from Panchmari through Neemghan down to Madai. So it was quite an exciting ride, and this is the Denva River, so that's the last stretch which we had to cross.
Okay, I believe you. So you don't have to carry your cycles the whole way down.
So we were having fun. I don't think we'll make guests do that.
And I think I recognize that. That's our Mitch's guy. I think he runs the bike.
Yeah. That's the same guy. Yeah.
And of course you'd also do nighttime safaris, and this is a gem, because to be able to capture a rusty spotted cat, which is the smallest of the cats, on camera at night is just unbelievable.
Correct. No,
go on, Ali.
No, actually, it's quite interesting to get these night drives in Satpura. I don't know, Anand, did we start the night drives when you were still there, or it was still quite tricky at that time.
We used to do the night drives, but yeah, it was not all
Without-
on people.
Yeah, but now it's become part of a.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you do it in the
Rusty
buffer area.
foresight, I saw my first Rusty spotted kite in the camp itself, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And there are a few individuals there in foresight.
Yeah.
It's quite a good habitat for Rusty spotted.
Well, we went
Very
out.
small cat. It's a very, very small cat. If you see it first time, you're like, oh, is it a kitten or what is it?
Yeah. It's the smallest of the cat species, if I'm correct, isn't it?
Smallest.
Yeah.
So a real gem, but they're never around very often. And so you actually have one stay in your, presumably in your headlights or something that you spotted in. It's very unusual to capture.
They're highly nocturnal.
Yeah.
No, I hardly ever see one in the daytime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was a gem. So now we're gonna just take you on a walk. We've got to move a little bit quickly up the walk. So this is a 2 or 3 day walk. A 3 day walk isn't a 2-night walk that you offer, which is actually down.
2 nights and 3 days. Yeah, and this again you walk from Pachmari down to the Denva River. Walk along the Denva. Both the campsites. One campsite is near the Denva River. One is in a grassland in a relocated village site. So it's quite interesting. It's more for birds and tracks and signs and enjoying the forest for what it is. Not that much for mammals, but a great experience.
Yeah, it's a lovely way to see. And of course, you then camp on the riverbanks and stuff on the side, and you get real special. And that for me is a complete gem. And we need to see more of this sort of stuff happening around parks, so people can get inside it and experience it 24/7 rather than just for few game drives at a time, which is that's it. But real gem, and you do this particularly well. So I really encourage people to get on that. I'm going to just quickly go to another one of my favorite creatures.
Beautiful.
I was brought up on a cattle farm in Africa, and we used to have huge big bulls that used to do the work. And the reality is that these chaps, which are the sort of ancestors of all our modern cattle that we love, are just another complete size and beauty compared to our present sort of cattle herds. And so the Gore is just such a gem, and of course huge area for Gore. When Forsyth was here, he used to see huge numbers of Gore everywhere, and you get them quite a lot, don't you, Ali? On the fringes now, big herds.
Yeah, now you do. I mean, in the summertime, they congregate and you can see herds of 50 animals or more, especially as the river recedes. The grasses grow on the side of the river, so they come for grazing over there. So you have big herds in Satpura.
In fact, Forsyth, when he was when he entered the valley and when he saw Dhupgarh for the first time, it was after a bison he climbed up, and he killed a bison and a Gore on top of Dhupgarh, and that fell in the ravine. And there's a whole story about it. It's a whole account about it. That's how he went up to Dhupgarh.
It's in here, I would think. And
he
got
we saw 2 bison grazing up there.
I think there's a bison also.
Yeah, so he was so enamored by this wonderful animal that he even called a place that he set up on the very top of Panchmari, the great hills of Panchmari. Yes. And Panch means
Lodge.
5, if I'm correct, 5 hills in the Panchmari. And it's where the Britishers used to, in the central Indian administration during the Raj, used to move up into these hills. And many soldiers used to recuperate in these hills because they were cooler.
5 caves, actually. 5 caves. Panchmari means 5 caves. It's from the Mahabharata, the Pandav brothers, the 5 brothers. They meditated in 5 caves. 5 caves.
Okay.
Satpura is 7 hills.
Okay. So this is what sadly Forsyth actually built this place up here. This is probably modified since then a bit, but he died quite a young man. Yeah, but he died a young man, didn't he? He died at 35.
Yeah, at the age of 32, 33 he died.
32, yeah. So he was a really brilliant guy who loved India, loved But he was also, amazingly enough, the guy who actually mentioned climate change. He reckoned that the way the British were taking out the woods of central India was changing the weather in that area. And that was really way ahead of, it's a century ahead of science.
I mean, in those hunting times, those are the days of hunting. Nobody would think of all of that. And
this book, he talks about 2,500 tigers a year they were shooting in central India.
Yes, only in central India. Only in central India.
Only in central India.
Not Tarai and everywhere else. And
so I'm really sorry to say that we've come to the end of my little expedition with you guys. So massive thanks to you, Alan. Massive thanks to Ali. It's been a joy reminiscing and traveling through your fantastic tiger reserve. And I'm just haven't quite finished it. And I just want to really now encourage you, if you are traveling to these parts, please do travel with Top Tigers on one of their recommended lodges. These guys are certified for eco-friendly operations, and they have the PUG certification. You can see it there in the right-hand corner. That's the Cheetah Lodge you can go to. You can use the Denmark Lodge, which is part of PUG. The Safaris really all high quality guys. Foresight Lodge, which is where Alan started, and it's still there and still operating in a very good way. And then we also have Rani Pani, which is there as well, and then the new Bori Lodge, which is coming on and which has been launched. And it's very exciting. It makes Satpura a truly fantastic place, and you've got to give it 2 or 3, 4 days, 5 days, however many you can give yourself to really get a handle on it. But please stay well and stay safe. And thank you very much for being with us in the last 50 minutes. Thanks, guys. Big thing. And I think we might even, I know Debs is back. She may even have a couple of questions that we need answering. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. I'm not sure who this is for, whether it's for Ali or Anand. Anyway, is there a journey that can be done, including Bori? I may be saying this wrong. Hashemashi, Satpura and buffer zone camping.
Yeah, it can be done. You can start either. A good way to start would be either in the northern side and do the camping and then come down to Bori, or the other way around. But unfortunately, the road that Anant and Julian were talking about, which they drove through the actual Bori side to Pachmani, that road is not open because that's not in the tourism area. And they were at that time.
Quite a nerve-wracking drive down, Sometimes you can't see even the bonnet of the Jeep.
Yeah.
You can't see the bonnet of the Jeep when you're driving down those canyons and cliffs there. It's quite a drive. You're a very skilled driver.
But in other combinations, it can be done. And it's easily, at least, you can spend 6-7 nights camping in Satpura and then in Bori and, have a really good experience without the crowds.
Easily, I think 5 nights, 4 nights, you can spend easily around that area. And now with your camp in Bori, it'll be fantastic. So, you can spend the night there or 2 nights.
I've just realized you also have amazing historic paintings in Satpura as well, don't you? In the rocks. I mean, just fantastic.
All over there, all over.
I'd forgotten about
Panchmani and Satpura, the canyons and the cliffs have a lot of beehives, you see. So there's a lot of history of bee hunters as well. Yeah. And they climb with basic equipment around in Panchmani area. And all those rocky outcrops have paintings in them.
Yeah, of course. Debs, anything else?
No, that's it.
Guys,
everybody's been really entertained.
Huge
Again.
Really
we can never do half an hour. Half an hour is not long enough.
These guys talk too much. I mean, they got too much to tell. Anyway, thanks everybody. Really good fun. Lovely reminiscence of Satpura. If anyone's got any money left in their wallets, please feel free to donate on our site. Yeah. If you want to have a guidebook, we actually produce a guidebook. You can download it off our site, www.toptigers.org, as you can see on the site there. So feel free to do that. Next time, we're not too sure when you're doing next time, but we will be moving out of Madhya Pradesh. We're going to 1 or 2 other states. And please keep an eye on our Facebook page for news of when we go on our virtual Bike for Tiger challenge to another part of India. But huge thanks for being with us. See you all again soon. Bye.
Great. Bye.
Are we off?